Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking to Jenna. She's a full-time UGC creator based in Tampa, Florida. After graduating college in 2020, Jenna pivoted from social media management to focus on UGC and has since built an impressive portfolio working with major brands like Experian, Amazon, Alexa, and Great Clips. And Jenna is here today to share her insights on building a successful UGC business.
I am so excited to be here.
Awesome. So, Jenna, let's start us off here. I just want to ask you, how did you first get, into UGC?
This is basically just on a doom scroll back in 2022 is around when UGC was it was just whispers about it. It was just starting to get talked about. And I saw it on my For You page that someone was saying that they can just sell videos to brands versus actually posting them to their page and taking the time to build a following or deal with affiliate marketing and things like that. So saw some TikToks about it, deep dove on it, joined UGC Twitter, and the rest is kind of history from there. It just snowballed.
100%. I feel like a lot of creators might be in the same shoes as you, right? Starting off just scrolling on TikTok or Instagram and just like seeing that hey, this is actually possible. So for you, taking that next step with UGC, right? Like what was your first paid brand deal like?
Gosh, I don't remember who my first one that because I've never really done gifted, and I didn't start out with gifted collabs. I've only done a couple of them when it was a product that was a high value collab that I actually really was going to buy anyway. But I think my first, if I'm thinking back correctly, was a mushroom gummy brand, like a ashwagandha, like lion's mane, something along those lines. I think they paid me like $150 for one video, and I guess and that at the time that was like a decent beginner rate too. Wouldn't recommend that to beginners now, but they just handed me a brief and they were like, "Here, have fun, roll with it," and I did, and they seemed to like it.
That's really cool that you started off with like a paid collab, right? As your
Mhm.
as your first collab, because a lot of creators start off with gifted collabs. So for you, did you kind of skip the gifted collab part, or how did that work?
I did because I already had the 2 years of social media management experience under my belt, so I was kind of pitching it saying, "I'm not new to I'm not new to freelancing, I'm not new to marketing. I have a degree. I've been working in social media for the last couple of years, so I have experience in some form, even if it's not necessarily in this exactly."
Okay. And with your even experience, like, would you recommend even people that are viewing this podcast now? Would you recommend beginners that don't have that background in social media marketing like you start with gifted collabs or just like try to jump into paid collabs right away?
Say give it a try. Don't be closed off to gifted collabs. I think it's okay, especially when you're first starting to get those under your belt, as long as you say after a month or two and the contract. You should always use a contract for gifted collabs, by the way. But
Hmm.
you should guarantee that the brand give you the results back, the analytics, the KPIs, so you can put them in your portfolio, and that's the exchange basically. But I do have a friend who I was mentoring who just started a month or two ago, and she was pitching initially thinking, "Oh, I'm not going to get any paid collabs these first like couple of weeks," but she wasn't asking for gifted either, but she was just expecting gifted. But she got to talking with one brand, and they were like, "We will pay you, like we'll give you $300 for a video," and she was like, "Okay," like so that blew her away, and so it's been rolling for her from there.
That's awesome. That is crazy. And uh even you mentioned like have a contract with gifted collabs. Me personally, I haven't heard that before. Right? So I guess why do you say that?
I just think every collaboration, every business interaction, you should always have a contract in play because you don't know these people. They're total strangers to you. Gosh, even when you know them, that's even more so to have a contract in play. So, just things just don't get messy. You just never know because think about like how long they could use that content for. Think about if they could repurpose it into AI because that's something we have to worry about nowadays.
Mm.
You gotta think about those things. Just have a standard contract the same as you would for a paid collab, but just have it be gifted instead.
And you said repurpose and into AI, right? And AI UGC is taking over. I can see there's a lot of people using AI UGC. So I guess you has that happened to you before?
Thankfully, it hasn't. I've just been hearing whispers as, it's kind of starting to just become a thing. And it's so easy nowadays, unfortunately, for people to grab your face, and which, our faces are on the internet enough as is for most of us, but they can just pull a video of you, make you say whatever they want you to say, which is so scary. But I'd highly recommend, whether it's gifted, paid, whatever, have an AI clause in your contract that says you cannot like repurpose my video as AI and just make me say whatever you want me to say.
100%. Yeah. And even like jumping into like maybe like your beginning stage of like starting UGC. I know you have that background in social media marketing, but really like what was like the most like frustrating part of trying to like make UGC work at the beginning for you?
I guess consistency at the beginning and asking for those higher rates. Like it was more of a steady, slow and steady process for me as I was bumping my rates. But at the time, back in 2022, again, when it wasn't as much of a widely talked about thing, I had to, one, explain what UGC was to a lot of people. They would just think that I was asking for a brand ambassador job, affiliate marketing, or influencer collabs. And then they say, oh, can we see your follower count? Can we see your metrics? And I'm like, well, that's not really relevant because I'm not posting it to my page. And just having all those explanations and then justifying that you should be paid for this kind of work
Mhm.
was thing to have to deal with. And that's something that a lot of us still deal with today. Like just the other day I was getting an email saying, can we see your account metrics? And I'm like, nope, this is UGC.
Hmm.
What did they have to say about
They didn't respond.
it?
I was polite. I was just like, I just explained like, hey, like, sorry if there was a little confusion here, but I was actually inquiring about a UGC collab where you purchase the content from me and then use it in your ads on your organically on your pages. You can put it on your Amazon storefront, your website, whatever it may be. And just took the time to break that down in case there was any confusion still. But I feel like most of the time, like you don't really have to explain what UGC is. You definitely shouldn't unless they
Mhm.
ask. But back then, I feel like it was more of a thing to actually break it down for everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like one very interesting thing about you that stuck out to me when we talked before was that not only have you skipped gifted collabs right at the beginning, but you also never even had a 9 to 5 from what you told us because you started freelancing in 2020,
Yes.
was it? Yeah. So is that normal, would you say?
Um, Gosh, I don't know if it would be normal because I don't know if that's the standard for everybody because everyone is starting at different stages in their life as well. But it was kind of a perfect storm for me because I graduated that semester and everyone was going home, of course, like at my college. That was my final semester. Unfortunately, my sorority formal got canceled. I didn't get to walk at graduation. All of those things that happened during that semester was going on, but we were all just kind of stagnant at that point. All of us who were like in a normal situation would graduate and just move on to have a full-time job. That wasn't happening for most of us that were graduating in May 2020. I took the time. I was at my parents' house. I didn't have any bill. I wasn't putting food on the table. I didn't have bills to pay, but I was just thinking like applying for jobs, just monotonously on LinkedIn, just clicking and looking for like marketing assistant jobs and things like that. And I was like, I really don't want to like. First of all, nobody's hiring because everyone's letting go of these kind of positions right now. But second of all, I don't know if this is what I even want. And here's the perfect time that since everyone is stagnant, I'm not in any rush to like lock down a job tomorrow. I don't have bills to pay this very second. My student loans don't even start for like another minute, like another hot minute. So I'm good right now. So I took the time to like look into freelancing and realized that this could be something to like dabble in maybe alongside a full-time job. And then eventually it just kind of blew up and became, financially enough to be a full-time job.
Yeah, yeah. Especially because I think that's the I wouldn't say normal route, but that's what I hear at least when talking to UGC creators is that they came from college, for example, or went out of school, got a job like the classic way, and then out of that 9 to 5 job, try to turn it into a UGC full-time thing, right? They
Mm-hmm.
try to make that transition. For example, for you, Glory, right? I think you didn't transition right into UGC, right? But you still did something else before UGC, which was I think you had a 9 to 5 job, right?
I had yeah, so I like my situation was a little bit different. I did go to college, but college in high school. So I did actually get like a I went to college for marketing, right? But also I noticed like the stuff that I learned in college actually didn't even pertain to anything outside of it.
No.
You noticed that too?
I have a marketing degree, but it's not a flex to me anymore because it's like, yes, I worked for it. Yes, I paid a lot for it, but like, it's just, textbook definitions don't carry on to the real world.
No, not at all. and they don't know anything like these professors. They don't know anything about like AI, or they don't know anything about like this new technology. The industry has changed. Like social media has changed everything. The marketing in general over the past 5 years. So it's crazy. But for me, yeah, I did start with like a job. I worked at Walmart myself, and then I worked my way up. I have a background in marketing as well, like running my own marketing business, lead gen business. But I really feel like I did have a fresh start with UGC. So it's more of like a, honestly, I hate to say this and be the person that says this, but it's like a mindset thing of like, okay,
Yes.
okay, how do I like just persevere and like continue when things get hard, you know?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so for you, like, I guess what was your like biggest like what was your biggest, I guess, mindset? Like, how do I say this? What was your biggest like mindset was the biggest thing for me that helped me like succeed as a creator. For you, what was like the biggest thing that helped like you? Maybe mindset, maybe like yeah, maybe even around your mindset was the biggest thing that like helped you like succeed as a creator.
I was living at home, like I said. I lived at home for 3 years, so until 2023. At that point, like all my friends were starting to leave town, like and get jobs and move to their dream cities, and I was starting to get jealous. I was starting to get stir crazy. I was like, I want to have my own apartment. I was living in my parents' basement. There's no windows down there. It was rather depressing, honestly. Sometimes, like it was a low
Mm,
point. And I was also in a kind of a dead end relationship at that point that had ended in end of 2022. And at that point, I was like, I have to get out of here. Like, I have to make a change or I'm going to be stuck here. I always have the mindset of, if you're the only one who can make this change, like you're the one who has this power to make a change in your life. So rather than sit and mope in my windowless basement about how sad I am or my friends are leaving, I'm jealous, blah, 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 I got up and just worked for. I kept that motivated me to work harder. And I it kind of ripping away that safety net for me of like, oh, it doesn't matter how much I make because I live at home. I don't have any bills to pay. Ripping away that safety net made me pretty much double my income once I actually moved out because now my mindset is if you don't work, you don't eat. You need to pay your rent. You have bills to pay now. So, and on top of that, I want to maintain the lifestyle that I've created for myself, both while I was living at home and while I'm here too. I like to shop. I like to eat out. I like to spend time with friends and go to the beach, things like that. So all of those motivators in mind are what keep me like encouraged to learn more and keep growing the business.
Mhm.
100%.
So while you were living in your parents' basement, as you said, you were building up your freelancing business. You were building up the agency at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess you guys have kind of the same background in business then. Yep, right? Gloria, you had your own marketing agency. Uh, Jenna, you had your social media agency. Do you guys feel like that gives you maybe a different lens on UGC in comparison to other creators that just go from their 9 to 5s maybe or straight out of college into UGC? Do you think that that gives you something special, like some special benefits?
Definitely, because like I said, when I was getting started and didn't even bother asking for gifted collabs, I just started asking for money because I never considered myself a brand spanking new creator. I already had some form of experience under my belt because even if you don't necessarily have experience creating content, you can try to just brainstorm. You have skills in other places. You can have storytelling skills, you can have script writing skills, you can have skills just, knowing aesthetics and things like that.
Mhm. Okay, so you were not brand spanking new, but did that give you, do you feel like another lens maybe on the how to approach even UGC? Maybe, yeah, how about that? Do you feel like it gave you another lens on UGC? Maybe you approach it from a different direction in comparison to other creators.
Feel like there's a lot of stuff that is second nature to me because of that background that isn't for everybody. Because even like I mentor friends, I mentor new creators here and there, and I explain things, and I think that it's common sense in my head. Like for example, cutting out like the pauses between your videos, cutting out the ums and the millennial pauses and things like that. To me, that's kind of second nature, and that's something I always knew, and wasn't something I had to be taught necessarily. But I think if someone doesn't have that background, or it maybe just isn't chronically online like I am, they may not know to do things like that.
Yeah. What about you, Gloria? Do you feel like you having worked inside of a marketing agency yourself, like having it built up to making a lot of money, honestly, right, per month? Do you think like maybe the systems you've built up helped you in UGC?
I think that just more of like a taking the creator hat off and putting the business owner hat on is needed for a beginner creator, right, to succeed um, and hit like maybe over like 10K months with UGC if that's their goal. I feel like having more of like a maybe systems mindset around like how they collect collabs and how they go about collabs, right, to help them manage like their client acquisition and fulfillment um, is like very important. And a lot of creators just kind of miss that, or a lot of UGC creators kind of miss that part of putting together things in the background, either because they don't know how to, or they just like haven't realized that they should yet. But I feel like that's something that a lot of creators miss. And I do think that this background in building a marketing agency really helped me come in with that business owner mindset from the beginning, to help me scale at like a more rapid pace.
Mhm.
So
I was
speaking,
kind of the
oh,
same way. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying I was kind of the same way because even like I was saying about things just being second nature, things I didn't have to like learn. I've talked to people who don't even like know how to send an invoice, for example, just like admin of running a freelance business and things that I just have already been doing as second nature for the last few years, or like how to set up a business bank account, how to get your taxes in order, things like that. It eventually becomes second nature that I think I don't even have to tell somebody that, but it's just not, it doesn't come as common sense.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but do a lot of creators even know what the words fulfillment or client acquisition mean? Maybe that's a bad example, but
Maybe it's to me like again, I know, I know what it means, but I'm like, does everybody else know? Maybe not, especially if they didn't come from a business, like even like a corporate. I think maybe from a corporate America background, sure, but let's say they're like a nurse, like there's no reason they would know what that means.
yeah. So I guess like for anyone listening that doesn't know what that means, uh, client acquisition means like landing brand collabs in easier terms, and fulfillment means creating UGC for the client.
yeah, I think it like from what you guys said, and you were obviously very successful with this, right? With UGC, and I think a big part of it is because you had that business background. Uh, would it be wise to recommend beginners to approach UGC like a business? And how do you do that?
I 100% think so. And that's what I tell people because it goes back to what we were saying about mindset. And it sounds so like cheesy to say like, oh, it's your mind, it's all on you. But like, you're really the only one who has the power to make this change, the shift from making UGC a side hustle or a hobby to calling it a business and actually making business money versus side hustle or hobby money. And I feel like that shift of like, okay, I'm actually going to treat this like a business. I'm going to check the emails every single day, respond in a timely manner. I'm going to make my invoices look professional. I'm going to communicate professionally. I'm going to, speak like a business owner. I'm not going to speak like someone who it's just a silly little hobby. I'm just, just doing this little thing on the side. No, like you have to get serious about it if you want to make serious money from it.
But you didn't have that transition, did you, Jenna? Or like that transition from it's just side hustle money or it's hobby money to then, oh, I'm taking this seriously. That's how I get my bills paid. This is like my full-time income. Did you have that gradual transition from, yes, you started off without even having gifted collabs, but did you have that transition, or did you start off with that business mindset so you didn't even have to go through that transition period?
Right. I think when I first started freelancing in general, like back in 2020, I kind of had that transition of just learning how to run a business, like, learning those things that eventually became second nature. But when I transitioned from social media management to UGC, there wasn't really a mental businessy transition.
Okay. And you were also very successful with your marketing agency, right, Gloria? Would you say you did have a transition? Because I know you were very, very successful and very well off with the marketing agency, but then what did that period look like when you transitioned from marketing agency to UGC?
We're so just applying like what I've learned with running a marketing agency into a different font, like in UGC, right? So it's like instead, like we just talked about, like the terms client acquisition is like landing collabs, right? So it's like a different font, changing like uh, this business to just a new business, right? And it's just a different like niche of a business or a different font. You know, a business is still a business. So I feel like a lot of creators come in with their creator hat on. We need to put that business owner hat on at the very beginning so we can set up your business the right way. Because at the end of the day, you just see they're getting like flat fees, right? And it's like it's not a, you know, you're not just being a creator. You have to put that business owner hat on. I think like for you, Jenna, like what would you tell that beginner creator? Like how would you tell that beginner creator to put that business owner hat on, you know, from the very beginning? Or would you even like tell a creator that? Or what would you tell a creator about this that's beginning?
So if you, I'm going to tell you about a hypothetical bad example of someone who is treating it like a hobby. Is if someone comes to me and they say, I'm not making any money doing UGC, I'm not landing collabs. And I say, okay, what are you doing? And they say, well, I've sent out a few pitches. How many pitches? Like, I send a couple a day. Okay. You're sending a couple of pitches out a day and you expect to see a return on that? Like respectfully, think about it. You have to think about like a business owner. If you're spending like an hour a day doing client acquisition, sending out pitches, not even posting to your personal brand or marketing yourself, I say, okay, are you posting to Instagram? Are you posting to Twitter? Are you posting to TikTok, LinkedIn, advertising your services, trying to connect with people in the agency space or with brand owners? No. I'm like, okay. So why are we confused then? You're not like applying yourself. You're not taking the time to do those initial not so fun steps and getting started. And so if people tell me that they're stagnant, I ask if they're being consistent in doing those things. And then if they are, then we can reevaluate and wonder what's going on there. But if they're just, sending a few pitches here and there and, maybe throwing up a reel once or twice a week, marketing their services, I don't understand how you expect to see return.
100%. And a lot of creators come in with that. I agree. A lot of creators come in with that mindset of like doing the bare minimum and expecting like the very best and like becoming the very best like in a short amount of time by doing the bare minimum. So we know what's wrong. What they're doing wrong is it sounds like a volume issue. So
Yeah.
for you, like what would you like, what's the solution to that? What would you tell a creator to jump in and do?
I also think a lot of it is rooted in a victim mentality because I see that a lot on the Twitter space a lot. Mostly just people coming on saying, oh, like, why is everyone else landing collabs but me? Okay, brands are
Mm.
looking at your Twitter. Why would they work with you if you're complaining about nobody wants to work with you? Why would that make somebody want to work with you? But even if, like, we all have our woe is me moments. We all think, oh, this week sucks, or I'm not, this sucks. Something's happening right now with business. I'm not happy about it. But if you let that energy manifest, like again, kind of cheesy, but if you let that energy take over, and especially if you're putting it on the internet, putting it out there instead of marketing yourself and just doing the work to get your name out there, do some more pitching, then you're going to be stuck in that mentality and things are not going to improve for you.
100%. That victim, I find it so funny that you mentioned victim mentality because I see it everywhere as well. What are some
Yes.
things like, what are some more examples of the victim mentality? So someone that's viewing this podcast right now can like identify, you know, that, hey, this is a pattern that I need to stop.
Mostly just worrying too much about what other people are doing. Because yes,
Mhm.
you should learn from other creators 100%. I do that all the time. But you shouldn't think, oh, I need to be doing exactly what this person's doing. Or, oh my God, I can't do exactly what they're doing because I have a full-time job. I'm a mom. I don't have time to do. Of course they're successful. They don't have kids. They don't have a full-time job. Duh, it comes easy for them. First of all, probably doesn't. Nothing worthwhile comes easy, just in general. So if you are stuck in that mentality, especially if you're, again, putting it out there on the internet, why would somebody want to work with someone who is so woe is me? Because you must not be that good if nobody wants to work with you, allegedly.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. I'd love to kind of shift gears into more of like your wins and like your transformation. So I guess my question to you is like, what does even like for Jenna right now, what does her day-to-day life look like? Yeah, even that. Like, what does your day to day life look like as a creator?
It changes every day, and I'm lucky that I get to say that because every day I'm not a planner like in regards to like my everyday routine. Like I don't really have a schedule. Like today I know I had this to do, and then I'm like, okay, I have some videos to film, so I'm going to take my time, get ready, do my hair and makeup, and then sit and knock out a bunch of videos. And then maybe tomorrow, for example, if I don't have anything else to film, I'll just do an admin day and sit down and catch up on emails, do some pitching, etc., and things like that. So those are, I guess, my usual like weekly tasks, if we can better group it that way. But I try to block it a little bit where I have designated filming days, designated admin based days, and then from there it's just fill in the blank with everything else.
Mm,
From us working together, Gloria, I feel like, would you say you would disagree with that? Do you think you have a stricter daily schedule? Because we know we have a lot to do, honestly, and sometimes I don't know how you manage to do everything that you have to do. Uh, what does it look like for you? Because for Jenna, it sounds like yes, she's structured, um, but yeah, I'm wondering if you had it to get it to another level for yourself.
I don't know about you, Jenna, but I like time block. Like, I am very like specific with like blocking things. And then I use my Google Calendar and I like make sure like even like even like every like 15 minutes is blocked off, you know? Like I'm that meticulous. Are you to that extent or are you kind of normal with this stuff?
The most type B entrepreneur you've ever met, and that's what works for me.
Yeah.
Because people will tell me that they'll say, "Oh, like why don't you use your Google Calendar? Why don't you write things down?" Even when I was in school, writing like assignments down and things like that, I'm like, "No, I this is just how I best function." Um, ADHD over here as well, and it shows. But I think that that's the great thing about being a freelancer is I get to decide that schedule, even if it means dicking around all day. Excuse my language, hanging out all day, and then in the evening clocking in for like 5 hours at the nighttime.
Yeah, 100%. It's like depends on like each person and each creator on how they want to do it. And that's the beauty of business. It's like you can run your business however you want to. You know, it's a free game. There's no rules to business, really. You just run it how you want to, and it's a reflection of you, right? And if it works for you, it's going to work for the business. And if it is working for the business, it should be working for you already. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to answer your question, Alexander, I'm like very meticulous. I block things off. That's just what works for me to get stuff done. I don't trust, like, honestly, if I pulled a Jenna, right? Like, I don't trust myself getting anything done the whole day. Like, I don't. I have to commit like time off. And that's just how I work.
I don't trust myself to look at an agenda. Like I'll write it down and then never look at it again. It's all somehow it's all up here. I can't explain it, but it makes sense in my head.
That's like honestly borderline superhuman right there. I can't.
Oh God, I wish my head too big. But I don't know. It's just that's how I've always operated. Like I used to get in trouble at school because in middle school I remember you had to use your agenda. Like you had to have your teacher like sign off on like you wrote down all your homework. And I'm like, this is stupid because it's counterproductive for me. I just remember it and explaining that and getting points off deductions for not doing what they want me to do because it's their way. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems you guys are kind of opposites, I guess, in that way. But you still said that you are blocking off a time slot in the evening, right, Jenna? Because you have to do some work at some point, right? Is that the typical way, like you would suggest beginners to transition, even if they, I don't know, you have the maybe the best background to ask that, but if they want to transition from their 9 to 5s to full-time UGC, I think, at least in my mind, a lot of people think, oh, I already have to make, I don't know, $5,000 a month so I can quit my job all of a sudden and then go full force into UGC, or should it rather be, oh, let's block off some 2 hours in the evening, right? To do my UGC, and then that gradually transitions. For example, you make enough money with those 2 hours, and then 3 hours, 4 hours, that you can then go part-time on that job, scale down your hours, and then finally quit. Is that what the normal path looks like?
I can't speak from my own experience, but I can speak from a friend of mine who just went full time. She was a full time engineer for the last couple of years, and she was in office every day until 5, and she wouldn't get home until maybe like 6 or 7. And the time only changed last month or in March or whatever. So by the time she'd get home, it'd be kind of dark for filming. So figuring out like for the first like maybe half a year of doing UGC, balancing that schedule, I think was rather difficult for her. But she would film on the weekends, or she would film during a lunch break and things like that, or like start or pitch during, downtime at work. She found a way to do it, and then she went full time about a month or two ago, and she made more than her full time income, by the way, after her first month, which was amazing. And she figured out a way that worked for her. But I can compare that to my parents. My parents do UGC as well, and they both have full time in office
Wow.
jobs. And like my mom's a teacher, so she gets home probably like 6 o'clock every day. My dad is an insurance agent, gets home around 5 every day. And they don't want to quit those jobs. So like they don't want to go full time. They love just having the supplemental income. So they found a way to balance it with their schedule. They would cram that filming in like really close in the evening time during the week, and or just like lock in on weekends and do it.
Are they okay? Did you convince them to do that
They,
UGC on the side next to
I
their
was the
full-time
one,
jobs?
yeah, like I was the one who like told them about it and everything. And I, would tell them like it's good money, especially if you just did it alongside your jobs and things like that. But, or I'd ask them to, even when I was living at home, they would help me with a lot of content as well. And then eventually they just were like, hey, we have some bills we have to pay off. We have some debt to pay off. So we're going to give this a try. And it took off for them so fast. Mostly, I'm thinking it's because of their age, because especially for my dad being a middle-aged man, like in his 50s, like they fully market their age and really go hard on that. And because it's such an undersaturated space.
100%. Even like I find it so silly that your parents do it, and that's awesome. Like I'm thinking of my parents, and I'm like, they would never ever go on camera willingly. So I guess like,
Parents would do that too. I thought my parents would never.
gosh, that's actually I'm gonna bring it up to my parents.
I'll send you their Instagram. It's 50s and Thriving is what it's called.
Really?
Yeah, and but my mom, she never even had like a personal Facebook or anything like before this. Never had a personal Instagram, nothing. Like she was a social media hater actually, because she's a teacher too. The rather strict social media rules sometimes when it comes to being a teacher, but they found a way to do it.
Wow, that's so inspiring. Anyone that's like listening, that's in that age bracket, what would you tell them on the edge, right, of starting UGC? Maybe they're in the same position as your, parents. What would you tell them, people viewing this right now?
I tell them you have an advantage over me, or frankly, like anybody in our age group, because that age range is so undersaturated. And like I said, especially for men too, like there's more women than men in that age range, but it's still so undersaturated. Because think about it, I can't sit there and talk about menopausal products. Guess I could, but like it wouldn't come off as very authentic. But or like there's a lot of stuff that my dad's a financial advisor as well, so he has a very authoritative tone when it comes to talking about things like that. So, and gosh, they do so many niches in similar stuff, like I was saying, that I don't even touch because it doesn't make sense for me to do it. Like those niches are so underserved when it comes to needing content.
Yeah, and UGC is like it's like the almost like the number one way to market your business here in 2024 going into 2025 here. So it's like I think it's really cool how like any kind of company needs UGC now, meaning that there's room for like anyone to hop in, no matter your age, no matter your
Yes.
gender, right? No matter your demographic, which I find like really, really dope. Alex, you got to hop into UGC, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys need to convince me first.
What are you doing
It's
over here?
definitely an underserved niche.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to like jump into like more of like I know you mentioned strengths and you were talking about like, hey, my dad was really like good at speaking and you know, and then you mentioned your mom. And I really want to talk about strengths. Like what strengths do you have as a UGC creator that sets like you apart from everyone else?
I think I do have a very good on camera presence. Like I always
I can
market and
tell.
thank you. I always tell people that like it feels like you're FaceTiming with a friend when you're talking to me or watching my videos. Gosh, you're not even talking to me. But a lot of people do tell me like it feels like I'm just talking to them, like I'm just a friend telling them, "Hey, I just found this cool product. Buy it. Here's the link. I'll send it to you." So that's the kind of way I like to portray myself and market myself, is like I thought that was something that was second nature. Like I just thought it's easy to hop on camera and just talk, but teaching like my mom, who never had any social media, how to talk, that she's not having like a QVC sales voice, you know what I mean? Like, or people hop on and I'm like it's your tone of voice, like things like that that you kind of sometimes have to teach, but it definitely came with time for me.
Yeah.
And just like getting used to hearing your voice on camera and seeing yourself on camera and perfecting your on camera presence, I think is an underrated strength.
Yeah, and even like the UGC creators that are struggling, right? There's a lot of creators, like personally, I did struggle with like maybe authenticity a little bit in my content. I look at my first videos, I'm like, wow, like she was a robot back then, you know?
Yeah.
So like to even like the new creators watching this or the creators who have been, creating for a while, but just haven't cracked their own like tone or their own like authentic self in these videos, what would you tell them to help them like come out more authentic, release the like roboticness in them when it comes to filming UGC and creating it?
Well, for me, I didn't have an issue with sounding robotic. I was trying to sound like everybody else. And I think
Hmm.
that is an issue that a lot of people have is I was trying to sound like a stereotypical influencer with the influencer voice. I'm so obsessed with this. Like that doesn't sound right unless you do actually talk like that, then power to you. But if that's not how you actually speak, like I look back in my old videos, I don't sound robotic, but I just sound like I'm trying to sound like an influencer with the influencer accent and saying words I don't normally say. Oh my god, this product was such a game changer. Like literally just speak like yourself. Like even if you just have to practice talking to the camera or even literally FaceTiming with a friend and pretending to have a conversation. Like
Mm.
that is the best. Practice makes perfect in that case.
Yeah, and speaking of like the UGC and like the creation process and like just getting more like clear on like how to create UGC, even like the question comes up of like how do you prep before you get camera ready or your voice for the voiceover?
Gosh, I wish I had like a rigorous like pre-show routine, but like mostly I like to one of my favorite parts of the day is taking my time to like do my makeup, do my hair. So I think about like while I'm doing that, I'll either like listen to music or like just get in the mood and just get ready to lock in for the day. But as far as like just sitting for a voiceover, I'll do that like in bed or on my couch. Like I definitely don't take a ton of preparation to do that if I don't have to be on camera. But if I do have to be on camera, then like I said, take the time and, get ready and make myself like feel confident in how I look because then it'll show in my video for sure.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. I like that. My routine is like anyone listening to this that maybe struggle with like the robotic like voice or like tapping into their authentic self, which can be hard for a beginner creator. What I like to do is I like to recite the script like 3 times over before I even like do a voiceover. And then also what I like to do is tongue twisters. I had like a grammar issues when I was younger, and I still have some now. So it's like um, doing tongue twisters can really help. Uh,
That's a good idea.
Yeah, 100% really help you with like just like enunciating things, especially for the script. So that can be
Mm-hmm.
Tongue
valuable.
twisters like what?
Um,
Do one now.
Do you have
um,
a good tip?
yeah, what's some like phrases? Sally sells seashells by the seashore. That's a good
Nailed
one. Yeah. What's some other ones? I can't think of any on top of my head. I don't want to like. It takes me a while to actually get them. I actually have to recite the tongue twister like 5 times to actually get it. And I force myself to do that. But that's a good way for anyone to like if they struggle like me with like this stuff, like voiceovers and stuff. Like that's a great way to like
That's a good idea. Yeah, and I literally just wing it, like either if I'm doing a voiceover or if I'm just talking to the camera. And if I have a problem where I talk too fast sometimes and I'll get ahead of myself, and you'll see in all the bloopers, like I'll start cursing or I'll just be like, oh my god, like again, like it's this one simple line I can't get, but just do it over and over and over. You'll get it eventually.
Yeah. It'll come. It'll come.
Someday.
Yeah. So like even like with the UGC creation process, what are some like what are some maybe setbacks or like problems that you had or even like struggles you've had with like creating UGC in the past and how did you like overcome them when it comes to just I know that's a very broad and like loaded question, but like I'm just thinking for like the new viewers that don't really know how to create UGC that good. I guess what are some setbacks you had in the creation process and how did you kind of overcome them or what are some tips and tricks you have?
So I think back to when I was at my parents' house, and like I said, there were no windows in my basement. So something I struggled with a lot was setting and lighting. And that's what a lot of people I think complain about, or they say, like, I don't live in a very aesthetic house. I don't get great lighting like my
Mm.
older. I don't live in a pristine white marble countertop apartment. And I think my content has definitely improved since I've moved. Like there's no denying that like having a better space that's more suited for me and has great lighting as well is definitely going to make your content improve. But that doesn't mean you can't get creative with what you have. Like you can always, of course, purchase artificial lighting, a ring light, or a lighting kit of some sort, or make sure that you're obviously if you're struggling with natural lighting, you can chase it as much as you can, maybe even film outside if you have to, but don't let that be the one thing that like stops you from starting. Is you're thinking like, I don't have a good setting, like I don't have good lighting. Like there's always ways to fix that, like I said, buying artificial lighting or maybe even playing with the brightness a little bit and editing it a little bit. But I did have, I was making decent money at home when I didn't have the stereotypical like aesthetic household.
Mm. Hmm.
Okay. And I mean, it seems to have worked out pretty well for you, despite you having those struggles. I think everybody goes through that. We talked yesterday, right? You it seems like you're very successful. I think you mentioned that your biggest brand collab was was with Amazon, right?
Mhm.
Um, where does it go from where does it go from here, I guess? Because it seems like you're kind of at the top at this point. What are your plans for the future? And I remember you specifically said that you didn't want to start, for example, an agency or wanted to start to coach actually. I wanted to ask you about that as well, but maybe later on. From now or for now, where do you want to go?
Well, for now, I've actually been looking at Gloria's tips for like lead gen and just mass pitching. So I've been working on sending more and more pitches out there and just getting my name out there more, trying to make more retainer connections. I think I mentioned this yesterday too about I want to have more retainer collaborations because I do have a lot of repeat clients, but not on contract. Like we would work together, here and there. Like we'll work together once a month, but just not like on paper. But I would like to have some more on paper, like guaranteed income for like, a 6 month contract or something like that.
Mm.
So would love to lock down something like that. But yeah, I'm not really interested for now. Who knows? I could change my mind tomorrow. But for now, I'm not really interested in like becoming a coach or starting an agency. I like doing what I'm doing now. My main priority with being a freelancer is time freedom. So I like my routine right now. I like things the way they are right now, where I make enough money to get my bills paid, have fun money, and travel, things like that, and have full control over my day to day, even if it means I don't really have a schedule. Like I said, it just wing it throughout the day. But I will say I've been working with a friend of mine from college on an AI project, and I'm not really saying too much on it yet, but we're working on a platform that's hopefully going to help creators. So that's something that hopefully, I mean, this year we're hoping to make it like a stream of income, obviously, but like also just have like making a resource for creators that isn't doesn't exist yet.
Mm.
Okay, if you do want to talk about it, if you can tell us a little bit more, it does it help to does it help to maybe circumvent or I guess go against this trend that we have been seeing with you mentioned AI UGC, right? Uh,
Yes.
First of all, I'm not 100% sure, honestly, on what AI UGC even is. So maybe if you could explain that first.
So basically, totally separate entities like AI UGC, like AI creators, AI people, bad. Don't love that. Don't want anything to do with that. Even like unbiased as someone who's not a creator or just a normal person, I don't like seeing uncanny valley or like robotic people trying to market products to me. Like that's weird. So, and yeah, I hope that brands take note of that, that people can tell that they're not real people. But we're trying to build basically an all-in-one like creator assistant in a way, like just all in, if you think about all of the platforms that you subscribe to every month, like you have an invoicing platform, you have a bookkeeping platform, you have like Notion, things like that. We want to just have something all in one and also something that like helps like educate creators as well. We're going to have like educational resources in there, connections with brands eventually will be in there. So, and it's just going to be like a subscription price.
Hmm. So you don't want to coach directly, but you have this feeling that you want to help people at least in some other way then if coaching is not for you.
Yeah, because eventually, like I said, I love having my time freedom, and I think coaching is too time consuming at the end of the day. But I like having this is going to be something eventually once all the kinks are worked out, it's going to be run on autopilot, and it'll just have like ongoing resources in there. Like, of course, I'll keep things updated here and there, but I won't have to sit and manually like be there for a webinar or things like that.
Yeah. Is that what this is about actually? Because you mentioned you were like chasing after retainers, I guess, at this point or at this stage in your journey. That's what you want more of, right? Not only, yes, repeating deals, but still not really on contract, so it's not 100% safe or I guess guaranteed. You do want those retainers. So why, I guess? What is the most motivation behind that? You mentioned that you wanted to travel more. Is it time freedom? What is it?
Definitely time freedom, and also just consistency and knowing that you have that money coming in every month, because that is I'd say the biggest downside about freelancing to any naysayers is that you don't have a guaranteed salary every month. But to that I usually say you could be fired from your job tomorrow and then you'd have $0 coming in every month.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, like I like having those retainers in place because it's some form of consistency there.
Yeah. And why exactly are you struggling with that? Because you said that, right, you want this transition. Are you even struggling? Are you just at the beginning stage of trying to figure out how it's gonna work? What does it look like?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not as good about following up and like making sure, hi, like I'm still here like every single month. I think that's something I do need to be better at. And yesterday I was actually working on just going back with old clients and just checking in to see if they needed any more content. Or maybe I just need to start asking, like, hey, do you want to work together on like a 3-month contract, a 6-month contract? I'll offer like a little discount in there if you want to work together long term. Maybe it's just something I need to market a little bit better or communicate a little bit better. But that's would be great to have a few of those under my belt.
Yeah. Gloria, would you say that's the right way to go about it to get retainers?
Um, I feel like it's like it goes back to that like mindset I mentioned earlier of like everyone runs their business how they want to, but I also, of course, I'm biased and I run my business how I want to, right? And there's more than one way to get to your destination, right? So it's like yes, that method might actually work, but I actually like for me and how I land retainers and those like monthly retainers, I actually start off with just a beginner like foot in the door. So I put my foot in the door and I get maybe $100, $200, $300 brand collab from Rand, right? But before that collab, for me to even continue with that, I actually hop on a brand call. So are you familiar with brand calls, or do you hop on brand calls, or what's your opinion on brand calls in general?
I do. I have done them. I try to avoid them because I just
Why?
don't like doing them. Like I know I'm like so aware of like having a face and like going face to face with like a brand owner. I just don't like talking on the phone. So I kind of avoid it where I can. I'd rather just kind of like I said, just do things my way. But like if a brand owner is like, let's hop on the phone, I'm not going to say no. But it's also just like a time thing. If like for example, if someone who I've never even spoken to messages me and saying, hi, can we get on a call? And I'm like, okay, but like, what do you want? Like, do you want, like, what's your budget even? Like, I don't want to waste our time doing all these niceties. Hi, how are you? How are you doing? How's the weather where you're at? Waste this time on a day where we could be doing something more productive just for them to say, oh, we can't afford your rates. So I think it's more productive to just kind of work things out over email from my experience, but I also am aware that like it can be productive to talk things out face to face as well.
Mm, yeah. And I think
I mean,
like
on that note of, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that brand calls, yeah, I agree with that. Sometimes it's kind of a waste of time. But also I think it's also how you position it. I mean, just offering a different perspective here. It's like a how I position my brand calls, and this could really help any viewer here as well. But like how I position my brand calls is I actually say, let's discuss a custom package. I actually don't have a rate card. I don't have any like set in stone rates really. Of course I want to stick around the industry average, like $200 to $300 per video, right? Essentially, I in the back of my mind, I'm going in with the goal of not necessarily to get the most out of the first deal, but get my foot in the door and make the most out of deals later on. So what that looks like is yes, I'll hop in a brand call. Yes, we might secure one time so that we can gain that trust in the relationship. But afterwards, I'm going to position myself as a strategist, right? As someone that they need to depend on when it comes to marketing. And that's kind of where my marketing background comes in. Is like I'm very, very uh, meticulous about how I position my UGC. And I make a lot of UGC meant for paid ads,
Mhm.
background marketing again. So I can position my UGC and my angle as like a different data driven angle rather than just like a cute UGC video angle. Can
Mhm.
you relate to that?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And getting back that information from brands when they give you back those KPIs definitely helps you be able to present that and be like, hey, like this video converted to this, and I think this is why. Like it had this hook, or it had this pace, or it had this amount of cuts and like different scenes in it. So being able to like connect it directly back to a past collaboration, especially with that same client, and be like, okay, this one didn't work as much, let's try this instead, or this one did really, really well, let's do something super similar.
100%. Yeah. In the brand call, like I feel like it sets that foundation of like, hey, I'm a real person. I'm not just like, a name and an email. I'm a real person, but also I feel like it sometimes it helps them really, really trust me as a person. Like I'm friends with my clients, to be honest, and I couldn't be friends with them if I was just emailing them. But after that first collab, that's when I've been pitched the monthly retainers because I took time out of my day to have this call, consult with them on the call. It's more of a consulting call with them. I consult with them and I place my strategy into their business. So I am the expert here. I'm showing them that I'm the expert. So that's where the monthly retainers come in as I position myself at an angle that 99% of creators don't. And I make myself sound almost like needed, right? To succeed in the campaigns. Yeah, what was that, Alex?
Uh, oh, I wanted to go back to kind of follow up with one very interesting thing, at least to me, is we've talked before, right? Before this podcast. I don't know if you said it word for word, but I think it really aligns with what you told us here, is that you really want to double down on purely UGC. Yes, you still want to help people kind of, I guess, as a side thing, if you could describe it like that, is not your main focus, I guess. Is
Mhm.
that accurate? But
Yeah.
uh, you I don't know if you said it word for word, but I think you said that you yourself see yourself as a pure UGC girly.
Mhm.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not the exact words, but I could be right.
No, I like that.
Um,
We like that.
okay, sure, sure. Um, I wanted to get maybe dig a little bit deeper into that. Why exactly you want to stick to purely UGC, no coaching? I guess don't scale up into an agency, because in my mind at least, again, coming outside of UGC from a business perspective, that seems kind of like a pretty natural progression.
I agree that it definitely is a natural progression, and a lot of people say that about creative strategy as well, but it's just preference. I've tried doing creative strategy jobs. I've tried doing jobs where I've been like the middleman or like the person who connects with creators and things like that. I don't enjoy it as much. I prefer creating, and I don't like I have a hard time motivating myself to do things where it feels monotonous or it feels like
Mhm.
I'm not doing something I'm enjoying.
Would you say that, okay, if you would, if we would then define an agency inside of the UGC space, would it just be taking on more clients and hiring people to fulfill for you?
Yeah, I think that you are kind of the middleman and the main communicator between the brands and the creators.
Mhm.
You're doing the sourcing for the creators. Maybe you have a creator database of just people you've already worked with or people that you know deliver quality work. But I just don't think I enjoy that part of it as much.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's valid.
Okay. And again, completely fine. I just wanted to again uh, gather up a little bit of like why exactly is that? But you're Gloria, I feel like you're the complete opposite. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you had a marketing agency for one. Yes, Jenna, you had one too, but yours, Gloria, yours evolved a little bit into what it is now, I guess, a creative agency. And then of course we have the mentorship program as well, which is then both, right, an agency and at the same time also coaching in combination with that. How did it even come to be?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I like Jenna, like how she sticks with UGC, and I feel like as a coach, like you have to stick with like what you're doing, right? Otherwise, it's like you're coaching something that you haven't done in 2 years. It's like it doesn't make sense to me. So as
That's
someone
true.
that's like, yeah, right, that came from UGC, I think it's really important to keep doing UGC, right? So of course, like, and I know I'm not superhuman and I only have 24 hours in my day, so I can't do it full time, but I still do UGC like part time. I just signed on a new collab like yesterday. So it's like, UGC is still going on for me. Where the coaching came in is that I've been like kind of getting an influx of like DMs. I don't know if you're getting this, Jenna, like an influx of DMs of people just wanting like coaching and wanting
Yes.
like, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? Right. So that's kind of where my mentorship came in. And I found the time to kind of put that together to people, for people to help people. Right. Creative agency, to answer your question, Alex, is more so to just connect these creators. Okay, now I'm coaching them. I'm teaching them how to create conversion driven UGC. That's profitable. Okay, let's connect them with brands. I have a ton of brands in my network. It's just a natural occurrence, you know.
Yeah. Again, as I said, we feel kind of the same way. Is it is kind of a natural progression, at least to me. Again, looking in outside of UGC because I haven't done it, you know. Uh, Going from doing UGC yourself, and then once you've achieved a certain level of success, like the top 10, let's say even 1% of creators, to kind of try to bring others up as well, right? Like the need that you feel, Jenna, I feel like to help people, right? If it's just in a one-off mentorship, let's say, call to help people, I think that's an intrinsic motivation for people in general, right? To bring others up. And in addition to that, in my mind, it also kind of makes sense that you're kind of progressing into coaching if you prefer that, because you're taking yourself out of the market. Actually, if you think about it, if you're doing less UGC like Gloria, if you're not doing it full time anymore, but on the side to kind of stay relevant, I guess that's why you do it, right, Gloria? To see what's still relevant, what's still
Trending.
working. Yeah, because it's changing so much. You're kind of taking yourself out of the market if you're not doing it full time and making room for other creators as well to take your place then. If you don't, right, I don't want to make it seem like this super noble, selfless thing, since the coach also benefits from it, undoubtedly, right? Um, yeah, but my view on it, and there is definitely going to be contention on this topic, is that, yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on the topic. But I think people will just gonna there's gonna be some argument about it.
It's just like there's always controversy around like coaching in the industry, like being like an industry expert and moving to coaching. There's always gonna be like controversy around that, but as long as you stay genuine and like what you do, and then stay in tap with the market. The last thing you want to be is like a coach that cracked it 5 years ago. Like 5 years, so much could happen, you know. And I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot of that in the industry.
Yeah, and a lot of coaching, like either the way they're marketing or the way they're just like running things in general, just feels like an MLM. Like it feels like they're just trying to build up the next coach. Like they're not trying to they're just trying to squeeze every last dollar out of you by selling you exactly what you could Google for free in 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And Jenna,
100%.
you don't want to do coaching, right? That's totally fine, right? Everybody has their preference. But you still mentioned that people hit you up to this day, and you help them. You help them, right, regardless, even if it's not something you prefer. Well, what do you tell them? How do you help them?
I do sell one-on-one mentorship. They can buy it as much as they want. They can buy, 1 hour of my time. Just because people always ask me, like, especially people local to me, they'll be like, "Oh, can I like get coffee with you?" And they think that like, they can take an hour or two out of my day for me to just spill everything I know about my business to a total stranger. I'm happy to do it, like, for payment.
Yeah.
But in general, I think that that's something that maybe corporate America normalized. Like on LinkedIn, especially, I get like, "Hey, can we like meet up at a coffee shop and just tell me about your work because I want to do what you do." That I wish I could do it for free and give everybody all of the hours of my day hypothetically, but that doesn't make any sense for me. Like, and that's not something I enjoy doing. So I charge like X amount for like 1 hour of my time basically. Like I kind of call it like you're picking my brain over coffee,
Hmm.
even if
Yeah,
it's virtual. Like because people do always ask me like, "Hey, do you like, can I talk to you about this? Hey, can I pick your brain about this?" And if it's just something I can send a quick voice memo and answer real quick, like sure, I'll do that and no problem. But if it's something that'll they want to keep asking me questions or it'll take me so much more time to explain, then I want to charge like a rate for that.
makes sense. Makes total sense. Okay, uh, you're still helping people, maybe like going full time into coaching, or I guess scaling it more is not your thing. Why why do you like it, Gloria? Why do you like to coach people?
More so, it's more of like business background. Things are like always for me, like I don't know about you, Jenna, but things are always like in frameworks and structures. Like how I build my whole business is already there in SOPs. And if someone's not familiar with the term SOP here, that's listening, it's like a direction list, right? So it's like everything's already in a direction list. Everything's already there and structured for me. Me being like someone that just does that. So I'm like, okay, I already have everything. Let's just compile it together and give it, right? And I also, of course, like enjoy helping people like everyone does, right? Who doesn't like helping people? So it's always fun to see like those success stories of people like, going from, that nurse to successful UGC creator or teacher to successful UGC creator. It's fulfilling because we did the same thing, but just like in a different way, in a different font. So
Yeah, I've been able to help a lot of my friends. Like I told you, I have a friend who just went full time from her job that she hated. So being able to like help my friends, and then we get to hang out all day because they don't have to go to their office every single day anymore. That's a win for me too. That's fantastic. But my mom is also a teacher of 30 years, and I would never in a million years be a teacher. But we always say like I kind of got like the teaching gene, like the satisfaction of it, of the fulfillment a little bit, tiny bit in this regard, because it is fun to be able to help, especially like my good friends or like my family members get into it.
yeah, 100%.
It's really cool, honestly, to see you guys, even if you have different approaches, to still help people out at the end of the day. It's cool, even if you have different methods, I guess, or doing it, yeah, in a different way. Um, that's really cool to see, in my opinion.
At the end of the day, I'm happy with my lifestyle. I'm happy with having time freedom. I have money to travel. I have money to like go to concerts and do things that I want to do. So I love being able to help my friends or even people who I don't know, total strangers, get to have that same fulfillment and that same feeling.
100%.
I would say, to anybody who needs help, hit up Jenna then. She loves to do it.
Yeah, sure. I offer mentorship.
Cool. All right. That's it for me.